Cyrus, you're so cynical. It's depressing. You're like, oh, I have delusions of autonomy. No, you have autonomy. You're 25.
Welcome to VoiceOver. I'm your host, Heather Bigley, and I talk to people about the movies that made a mark, that led to cinematic epiphanies. And it's not always the movie you'd expect. Today's movies are the Hunger Games franchise, adapted from Suzanne Collins' YA novel trilogy. The original 4 films star Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson, Liam Hemsworth, Stanley Tucci, Elizabeth Banks, and Woody Harrelson, among so many others. Released one year after another, starting in 2012, they grossed almost $3 billion in theaters globally. If you've never read the novels or seen the movies, where have you been? But The Hunger Games is about 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen, who lives in a dystopian North America where the capital controls the rest of the country by playing different districts against each other. Quite literally. Every year, 24 teenagers must fight to the death in a battle royale. Katniss, in her effort to protect her young sister, stands up to the Capitol and then becomes the symbol of a burgeoning revolution. My guests today, Claire Sorelli and Cyrus Kirby, were once both players on the Basis Flagstaff chess team, and they were 12 years old when the first Hunger Games film premiered. I wanted to talk to them about how they felt about these movies, what influence they think those films had on them, and most importantly, Team Gale or Team Peeta. Claire and Cyrus bring with them a long-term friendship that informs today's chat. They react to each other as much as they react to the films under discussion. Cyrus Kirby is a philosopher turned data engineer in Boston who just finished a MS in computer science from the Georgia Institute of Technology. Claire Sorelli is a software engineer in Phoenix with a bachelor's from Arizona State University. Stay tuned after the chat for more movie recommendations. Can I say, I wondered the whole time if my hair was long enough to make the Mockingjay braid.
Did you try?
Yeah, briefly. And then I was like, it is not long enough. She must be wearing a wig. I decided she was wearing a wig. That was my first reaction to watching all the films. What about you guys?
I think we should talk about the Team Peeta and Team Gale thing, by the way.
Okay, we will. We could definitely, I would love to hear what you have to say. I'm Team Gale. But just because he's an actual attractive adult, Peeta just looks like
oh my gosh,
a child. That's all. But to get back to, let's start with Claire. Reactions upon seeing them all in a row in this year of our Lord 2026.
Okay, yeah, I love them. I actually just reread the books like in December, before I even knew this was happening. So I just feel like I don't know, they have a lot of staying power. They hold up still.
I have to take a different perspective. I was rewatching the movies, and I was not such a huge fan when I watched the second time, if I'm honest with you. I found the first 2 the most entertaining. I thought the last 2, I was remembering a lot of criticism that I heard as a youth about how there's just a lot of this unnecessary love triangle. Can we get some priorities here, people? We're fighting the tyrannical government.
Love still exists, Cyrus.
The dialogue wasn't great. Yeah.
Cyrus, did you like him at 12?
I would say I did. Okay. I really liked the books. Although now that I really think about it, I think the first movie, I did not even like it as a youth because the camera was so shaky, it made me sick.
That handheld camera, watching it again, I was like, I get it, this is realistic. It was kind of overwhelming as a sensory experience. Okay, let's break this down. Jennifer Lawrence, she has that stare, might call it a glare, like she just looks at everyone around her like she thinks they're horrible, stupid people, and they're not to be trusted. Which I feel like when I was a teenager was dead on. Even though I was in my 40s, I could identify with Jennifer Lawrence and this like seething rage. What about you guys?
I don't think so, but I think there was just not a lot of internality going on when I was around that age to be honest with you. I think looking back on these movies now, the main theme is people are telling Katniss what to do, but she just really needs to discover how to make decisions on her own. And I think I can relate to that, at least as an adult.
I think, okay, so what I take away from these books and why they feel like so deep and meaningful to me, at least, is because I feel like it's about Suzanne Collins' vision for humanity. Obviously, Katniss, she like sparks a revolution. And then in the third book, people are making decisions on her behalf. But I just think that's not really like her strengths, because I just think like what people are drawn to about Katniss is like her authenticity and her compassion. There's a scene in the third movie where Haymitch is like,
let's everybody think of one incident where Katniss Everdeen genuinely moved you. No, not where you were jealous of her hairstyle or her dress went up in flames or she made a halfway decent shot with an arrow, and not where Peeta made you like her. No, I'd like you all to think of one moment where she made you feel something real.
Oh. When she volunteered for her sister at the reaping.
Excellent example. Okay, volunteer forces. Good. What else?
Oh, when she sang that song for little Rue.
Oh, yeah. Who didn't get choked up at that?
When she chose Rue as an ally as well.
Yes.
Now, what do all these have in common?
No one told her what to do.
thing that moved people to revolution is like her compassion and her courage. And then like I just feel like it got complicated because there's like all these politics of revolution.
This may sound really facile, but I thought about Battle of Algiers. Do you guys know this movie?
Haven't seen it.
Okay. It's Italian. It's about the Algerian Revolution. It comes out in the 60s. It's shot handheld camera. It looks like a documentary. People thought it was an actual documentary of the events, but it's fictionalized to some degree. And it was banned in France because they were so upset about how it portrayed the French. The US federal government used to show it to people before they went into Iraq and Afghanistan to say, this is what we have to be aware of how revolutions and insurgents operate. It was like a playbook for them. And I thought of that when I was watching this movie, like, oh, this is an interesting playbook on how you motivate people to act. And it's also somewhat fantastical. There's those scenes where like thousands of people are like rising up. And I don't think that's what happens, but it's like a fantasy of what we can do when, you know, we're living in authoritarian times. You've seen like Black Lives Matter. You've seen the No Kings marches. When you look at those moments of revolution or of the people, you know, do you think of them as real or authentic or close to the truth?
I think I had the same thoughts. I'm like, okay, she wrote this because she's like, okay, I have like this idea about what it requires to have a revolution. I think in some ways she is kind of showing like, oh, this is what you should do if you're like an Effie like character. I was watching this interview from Elizabeth Banks and she kind of reiterated what you said. She was saying like, she goes from like someone that props up the fascist regime and benefits from it, and until she realizes like, oh, like Katniss and Peeta, they're like getting pulled into the games again. She cares about them. And then in the end, she becomes a revolutionary. Or Cinna, I think, he's like the one person in the Capitol that like Katniss feels like she feels seen by. So I do feel like on a person-to-person basis in terms of the characters, I feel like it resonates. But then, yeah, I think the third and fourth movie, they're kind of corny to me, especially when they are like blowing up a dam and they're like singing that song that Katniss is singing. I just think like revolutions, they like fracture and they're like overly unified. So yeah, I think a little unrealistic. But I think like some things about it are like really resonate.
What do you think, Cyrus? As a call to revolution, how does this film work for you?
Honestly, I also agree. It kind of falls flat for me in that respect. When I think of revolution nowadays, I'm immediately thinking that one of the biggest obstacles to that is some sort of surveillance state. And it seems that the Capitol in the books and the movies has such inconsistent levels of power. I feel like true evolution would be so much harder and take so much more time. We did not really see the masses of the people that were on the Capitol's side. There's your side, of course, but there's also a whole lot of people on the other side. I feel like in these movies, it just seemed like there were 13 districts rising up against the Capitol, but the Capitol had so many people on its side as well that we did not really understand like how they maintain power.
Don't you think like the conditions for the people in the districts were really terrible and they would want to rise up?
Can I just say that I feel like there are people who are interested in revolution. There are people who don't care. Like if we just look around America and think about how people are engaged with the government, there are people who just want to be left alone. I'm just going to live my life. And I think we see versions of this every time Katniss says, let's run away, or someone says to her, let's run away. There's this idea like we can somehow separate ourselves from whatever is going on. But I think there in real life, there are so many people like that. I don't have to pay attention. I just have to keep my head down, or I've always done the right thing. Why would anybody be upset with me? Or this doesn't apply to me. You have all kinds of justifications. And then I think there would be a whole lot more fracturing. And we do see in the movies that the 13 districts aren't united, and that's her job. She has to go and like convince everybody that they should fight and that they should unite together. So these movies are for teenagers. Is this a healthy message for teenagers?
Ooh, I love this.
Honestly, I think it's a great primer if you're a young teen. I think you should definitely be exposed to those themes. While I think this film is flawed in some respects, I really don't expect a movie for teenagers to really capture all the nuance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a masterpiece. I mean, it has flaws, but
I liked seeing Cyrus's face when you said the word masterpiece. That was... There's a question I had here. How do you see these films influencing or shaping your approach to society, friendship, government, ideals like courage, concepts around gender, authority, etc.? It's not just talking about revolution, right? There are other things that it's telling us. So,
yeah. Okay, well, I guess in that case, I agree with Cyrus. I feel like he nailed it. I think it's a really good.
Keep in mind, you said it was a masterpiece.
Yeah, well, I do think it's a masterpiece, but like I just feel like it's perfect for the audience, you know.
Well, talk to me why. Like when you were teenagers, what was your attitude towards the adults around you or the systems you found yourself in, like the school system?
So I feel like we grow up and then we start making money, and then like there's a lot of focus on like putting food on the table, and especially I think since things are so expensive now in the US, and then we just kind of lose sight of our communities. Like when you're just like thinking about your own survival, it kind of puts you in the scarcity mindset. I think that is kind of what dissuades people of thinking about class consciousness. So I think it's good because I feel like Katniss is really empathetic and she doesn't lose sight of what is important. Like as a kid watching, I was like, okay, I want to like embody those qualities because I respect her, and you can see like that she has an impact on people, even if she herself doesn't realize it.
What do you think, Cyrus?
I think looking back at how these films influenced my ideas of government, society, gender, friendship, I'm honestly not seeing a whole lot. Perhaps I was too young to even really reflect on what these films meant to me at the time. But I also feel like a lot of maybe my identity around those topics was formed around COVID, post-COVID, and I feel like some other films had perhaps a larger impact on my growth.
But you liked the books.
I love the books. I think those and the Ender Game series were like my first foray into violent books starring young teenagers. I really like seeing that aspect of myself represented as like someone who's a teenager, someone who's young. But in terms of like shaping my ideals of society, I would say it didn't affect me too much.
I mean, YA literature is known for doing this one thing, telling young people that they have autonomy, they can make choices, and they can impact the circumstances around them. That's why you as a young person are drawn to them, I think, because you're like, oh, I know what's going on inside of me internally. I know that I have important ideas. I want purpose. No one seems to recognize that about me because they keep dismissing me because I'm still under 5 feet tall. These books are aimed at letting you know that even though the people around you are currently dismissing you, you do have a voice and you can take action. Now, this book is interesting because it's saying you can save the entire country, right? You can right some of the most horrible wrongs. We can recognize that as fantasy to some degree, but I guess I would ask, do you feel like that's true?
I think I do have what I would call these delusions of grandeur and delusions of autonomy, that I can change my circumstances, that I do have power. I think you have to remain optimistic, but not really buy into that idea. Maybe I did get that from these books.
Okay, so there's so many things I want to respond to, but Claire is trying not to laugh. So Claire, what's going on for you?
Sorry,
here?
I feel like Cyrus, you're so cynical. It's depressing. You're like, oh, I have delusions of autonomy. No, you have autonomy. You're 25. Sorry, I understand that's not what these books are about. It's just a separate conversation. I do feel like politically, I don't feel like I have a lot of autonomy. I think a lot of people feel that way right now. It's like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Like, things are bad and getting worse. I feel like Suzanne speaks to that. You know, like Katniss, she wasn't trying to start a revolution. She just like saw her sister in Rue or whatever. And then everyone was like, yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like Snow, he says like,
Annika, why do you think we have a winner?
What do you mean?
I mean, why do we have a winner? I mean, if we just wanted to intimidate the districts, why not round up 24 of them at random and execute them all at once? It'd be a lot faster. Hope.
Hope?
Hope. It is the only thing stronger than fear. A little hope is effective. A lot of hope is dangerous. Spark is fine, as long as it's contained.
it kind of makes me think like there's like more that we can do if we start thinking about. It's like what Hey Mitch, he's like, remember who the enemy is. If we mobilize effectively, I think it's possible. So I don't think it's delusional. I also think that, I don't know. I mean, I think Katniss, she brings a nation together. I don't think that's like unhealthy necessarily. I just think, especially since it's not really like what she wants. She's like unhappy the whole time doing that. Like she's like, I don't want to be on camera. Like I don't want people to follow me. And I just feel like they do because she's being authentic. So I feel like I feel like the book is like, it's very much in favor of authenticity.
Like I think the films are honest to some degree about you should get involved. You do have autonomy, but there are sacrifices you're going to have to pay, right? And obviously the most notable one is the sacrifice of her little sister. And the irony of that, she gets involved because she wants to save the life of her sister. And ultimately ultimately her sister's going to die because of Gale. And it's not going to be because of the Capitol. I want to ask a very simple question. I always cry in the first one and the second one. I want to know if you guys have any kind of big emotional moments in the movies.
I didn't. Honestly, I'm sorry.
Cyrus hated the movies.
Cyrus, we're glad you joined us for this conversation.
Okay, I do agree with Cyrus that I think the books are way better. Like, they're way more succinct. I like seeing her point of view. I just think that it's cool that they made it into a movie.
You're allowed to have your opinion.
Sorry. I'm just getting mad at Cyrus because I feel like he's being dismissive. And I just feel like he watched the movies earlier today. That's what the vibe I'm getting.
You crammed for this discussion. That's what I'm hearing.
No, Claire, you can say what you like about the movies.
You were shocked when I said I was Team Gale, so I take it you're Team Peeta.
Yeah, of course I'm Team Peeta. This is crazy. Gale's so unlikable.
What?
Okay.
He's much better looking. He
For sure.
feels like an actual adult. They have like a long-standing relationship. They're at the cusp of a relationship, a more mature romantic relationship, and then the Hunger Games comes and just destroys it. And they're never going to be able to be who they could have been to each other. So that for me makes me feel a little wistful and like sad for them.
Oh. I never thought about it like that. I think it's interesting that women take on more proactive roles. Like Katniss is the provider, and then her sister and mom are like, they're like doctors. And then, but like Peeta, he is like, he's kind of useless. Like he bakes bread, frosts cakes. Like why I like him so much is because I just don't think Katniss understands her emotions very well. She's like so like stuck in like survival mode, and Peeta really like brings context to that. So like for example, before they go into the games in the first movie, he says,
You know, if I'm gonna die, I want to still be me.
and Candace is like, yeah, I can't afford to think like that. I have my sister. But then as she kind of goes into the games, in the books, it's clear that that's what's in her head when she like puts those flowers around Rue. It's like, okay, no, don't just let this be a death in vain. Like make it mean something. And I feel like Peeta just kind of gets it. Very forgiving and loving to Katniss. He like wants to get to know her. I think that's something that the author is trying to put forward. Like to be loved is to be known. He's hopeful. He's good at saying the right thing. He's funny. He like lightens the mood. And I feel like Gale is pretty like angry and cynical and punishing. And this is something that's not, you don't really see as much in the books, in the movies, mostly because I kind of think that Liam Hemsworth is a bad actor. But I think also because you don't really see Katniss's inner dialogue. In the books, when she's like feeling really low and she is like, oh my gosh, I think I'm a bad person because I don't know what was going through my head when Pete and I ate the berries. All the like bad things are happening to people in my life and it's my fault because I was in the games. Like when she's in like that kind of state of mind, she picks Gale. And when she's in like a standing up for her loved ones and trying to be self-determined, then she picks Peeta. When you feel at peace, then you feel drawn to certain things. When she digs down, like she is drawn to like Peeta's like softness and warmness, and Gale kills Prim because he's angry and he just wants revenge. Cyrus, are you Team Peeta or Gale?
I gotta be honest, as someone with no dog in this fight, I think you gave the stronger argument.
I have to say though, with Peeta, and I think the book bears this out, we actually don't know what his motivations are for a lot of the story because he's so good at presenting himself and sort of strategizing that for a good part of the story, we wonder, is this just him trying to survive by making this alliance with her? And I think the one obvious place that this is most sort of nagging at you is when he's following around the careers, right? And saying, oh, well, she went this way, or, you know, she's doing it because of that. Like he's kind of informing on her. I think especially when I first read the books and when I first saw the movie, I was like, you can't know what this guy wants and she shouldn't trust him, which is why those scenes in the cave are so important because again, can she trust him? And they're both performing for cameras, right? Like, so there's this artificiality to their relationship. Whereas I feel like she's with Gale, she's at home, and she's doing the thing she loves. She's hunting. And she's hunting not to kill people, but she's hunting out of need for her family. And she respects the creation that surrounds her, and she respects the animals. And so I often feel like her true self is revealed when she's with Gale. How'd I do, Cyrus? What do you think?
That's pretty good. I gotta give it to you.
Thanks.
Although, have you ever considered Team Finnick?
No, I mean, as an adult woman, yes, I have considered Team Finnick.
I love Finnick
okay.
too.
Yes, last question. You guys grew up in this era of Marvel, DC, the proliferation of multiple franchises, Divergent, Mad Max, The Maze Runner, The Purge, just to name some. What makes The Hunger Games stand out to you as a foundational movie text for Gen Z?
I think of it as the first in a line of YA dystopic sci-fi, and that sort of dystopic nonfiction or fiction feels like something that we're going to be thinking about more and more about in these upcoming years. And I feel like some of the other films that you listed happened as a result of Hunger Games, like Divergent.
I feel like Hunger Games came first, and then a lot of those other dystopian novels came after, and I think they aspired to be the Hunger Games but did not achieve it because I think a lot of them were kind of like fan servicey. I don't know what the word is, but it's like, oh my gosh, I'm the main character. Like, I'm important. And I know that we talked a little bit about how Hunger Games lends to that, but I feel like it's more balanced. Suzanne Collins like thought it through a little bit better. In terms of like in comparison to Harry Potter, I feel like Harry Potter was also very impactful for me. But I feel like J.K. Rowling, she's pretty heavy-handed with it, honestly. Like, as a kid, I was like, okay, this is what she wants me to think. Whereas I don't think that The Hunger Games is... Like, I think there's a lot of different things you can take away from it. And I don't feel like she is trying to say one thing specifically. You just, like, see Katniss, different things about her resonate, and you can take a lot of different things away. So I just think it's less, like, hand-holdy, but still very impactful.
Thanks to Cyrus and Claire for talking to me. They're funny, they make me laugh, they make me think. If you want to lean into the Roman history and mythology that influences the novels and films, try Stanley Kubrick's Spartacus from 1960. Produced by and starring Kirk Douglas, it's known for its incredible cinematography and passionate speeches about freedom. Spartacus is an actual historical figure, a Roman slave who inspired a 2-year slave revolt, fueled by almost 90,000 people. And there's quite the romance at the center of this gladiator sword and sandal film. If you want to lean into the heroism of female protagonists, try Edge of Tomorrow from 2014 with Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise. It's the worst film title in the world. It should be named Live, Die, Repeat after its marketing slogan. But Emily Blunt elevates this film as Rita, the warrior who kicks Tom Cruise's butt into shape. And if you want to lean into reality TV, you should watch Peter Weir's 1998 The Truman Show, which for some people seems practically prophetic 30 years later, because it predicts the changes wrought to American society from the influence of reality TV. How do you know what's real? Which relationships to trust? And how do you have autonomy when your whole life is being played for an audience? I'd love to chat with someone about an important millennial movie. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Voiceover is a production of BYU Radio and is edited by Spencer Boyer with additional post-production support from Nick Levitt. I'm your host, Heather Bigley.